This is going to be a multi-part series on how I produce this painting. It is a mixed media painting and I'll be using a lot of different techniques. And my goal is to inspire you in regards to producing artwork or just enjoying the beauty of bonsai and of course being instructive. So this is part one of the series, and where I came about being inspired by this image and how I laid it out and some of the compositional ideas that I came up with. I will primarily be using charcoal on this video. Okay, well, let's get started. I'm gonna work on this marble paper. I'm not sure if you can really see it, but it's a marble paper. I picked this up at a print show, and I really love this paper, and it gives me ideas in regards to what colors I'm going to use when I start working my piece here. But I'm going to work on this paper for this, and I have a variety of resources, and so I have this particular tree here. It's a Japanese white pine, and it's kind of a raft style on a rock, and I really like the motion that this tree has. It's really beautiful, and so I'll probably place that somewhere like this. And then the kanji that talks about this tree is the Goyomatsu, or the white pine, and I'll probably put that kanji something like that. So I'll be overlapping the tree onto that kanji. And so that's pretty much it. It's not going to be very complicated in regards to the image that I'm going to put together, but we'll see how it works out. I think this is going to work really nicely, especially with these colors. So, and I know how big I want this to be, because I've got a frame here already. I've got this frame that I made, which is a mahogany frame, and it's made for floating, and inside of it will be a panel, and a panel much like this panel that I made. It'll go inside here, and I'll mount the image on top of that. So that's pretty much the start of it, and my idea for the image that I'm going to make. Okay, so as I said before, I'm going to be using this image and this kanji, and the shape that I'm going to be using is pretty close to this. So this is kind of proportionally the paper that it's going to be on. So what I like to do is what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be doing the layout. I'm going to lay out how I'm going to construct this space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break these into thirds. So we have a third here, and I'm just eyeballing it. If you want to measure, you can measure. But again, it looks like that's about right for thirds. So I'm going to use what's called the rule of threes compositionally. Okay. So I have this image here, and I want this to take up this space. I know that I'm going to have some gradations in here and gradations in here. So if I'm just trying to lay out this in a symbolic fashion, it looks like maybe something like this would work. And I can easily change this, and that's basically why I'm doing the layout, because the actual piece may not show up like this, but it gives me an idea of how I want to lay everything out. So I think what I'll do is I'll lay out the trunk line pretty close at the third here, and I'll pop up on the third here. I may even go a little higher and have this peak at the third. So I use that as a third. I'll use this lower portion as a third of the tree. What I'm talking about is this lower portion, this upper portion, and this portion here, trunk line, probably there. Just come up, and then this pot plant, this crab-like pot will kind of come in here like that. So that fills that space fairly nicely. As you can see, it's all very symbolic, though. I'm not getting into anything that's kind of natural or like the tree, but I'm going to want to stylize this tree anyway. I'm not going to want to copy this. I want to use this as inspiration. Remember, we're using these things as inspiration. We're not necessarily using them as verbatim. Okay, so that looks pretty good there. It kind of lays out this. Now I want to put the kanji in, and I'll probably put the kanji in this area, and I'm just kind of doing an indication of how I'm going to do the kanji. So maybe at this will be the third here. So I'll pick up some of these marks, but I want it to kind of go through the tree, up through and out the tree. So I want some overlapping going on here, which I'll get a lot of overlapping with this portion of the kanji. And that'll fill out this negative space in here real nicely. So this again is just having, just sort of laying this out what I actually would like, and do some corrections. I think this is too far. Maybe get this more in here, where the kanji is in here. Maybe a little longer. This has to be longer. Maybe this kind of take up that kind of space in the piece. But you see I have the tree in here and the base. Okay, so if we look at this, and I'm doing this real time, so if we look at this, I think this is a lot of negative space. So I think maybe the styling of the tree is going to need to do a little bit more like that. Come around in here. I like this negative space in here. I like the negative space in here. I'd like this to kind of point up, though, more. Kind of flip up. So the lower branches will come up underneath in this area. But also I love this stair-stepping idea that's going on here with this. So if this comes around like that, there's some really nice negative areas in here. We'll do that when I actually do a sketch of the tree. And I think, because this is all pretty much symbolic, yeah, I think this kind of looks pretty nice. Let's try and do a little bit of value study in here. So in the upper and the lower. Okay, so this in here, this here. But you see how I'm doing this very fast, and I'm getting a feel of the space of where I want the tree to be. And again, I'm using the tree as inspiration, not as something exactly looking like the actual tree itself. There we go. So this is vine charcoal. This is vine charcoal. What I was using was a charcoal pencil. I think what I was using was a 2B. And so here's the kanji in here, whatever that kanji kind of looks like. There's this. I want the darkness in here. This is kind of classic ukiyo-e method that they had. And let's put some compressed charcoal on here so I really can get some things that are dark. Again, going back to my original inspiration here, we're going symbolically. So I'm creating the foliage pad symbolically. I like this one in here. I'm not sure about this branch in here. This may not work for me, but I do like the stepping that happens here. Here's the bottom, little indication here, but this really is a large foliage mass, which I really like, but it needs to come around more, like to fill this area in here. Okay, I think that's about it. This is really dark up in this area. You can see the difference between the compressed charcoal and the vine charcoal. Again, our lines are here. This comes into trunk line. This clips off the top. This kind of comes a little bit over in there. Maybe I'll have it end at this third. See how I use the third for the apex there? Use the third for the apex here. And that gives it a very visual balance. Here and here is like, this is the third area for the trunk line. Coming down. I can remove some of this charcoal by using this cloth here, so I can look and see these negative spaces that I want. You might like a little bit more detail. I don't care much for the detail. I do like the idea of a shadow in here though, that's coming off of here. Yeah, maybe we extend, yeah, I think that'll work. Just an idea of a shadow. So you can see it's just an idea. Secure up the edges. Back to my charcoal pencil. Yeah, this is a 2B general. Comes in here. Goes here. And I'm going to be using a few things as inspiration. I might even put some patterns in here because I have some neat stencils that I like, and it can put patterns. I can put geometric patterns in here if I want. I can put foliage patterns in here if I want, or I could just scrape in those areas. So I think this is really good for me in regards to how I want to lay this overall motif on the paper that I'm going to make. I hope you enjoyed that. Part 2, I will be going through the detailed drawing of the tree itself. If you like this video, please subscribe. You can also go to my Patreon page and support me from there, and I often post on my Instagram page. Thank you.